Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. But I gotta start with this from Cointelegraph. Just in, Ethereum boosts transaction speed by 20%. Faster and cheaper transaction fees could drop 10 to 30%. Me personally, I've never been a fan of Ethereum. Why pay gas fees if you don't have to? But this may be what we've been waiting for to get Ethereum going, leading us into alt season. Let's wait and see where it goes from here. Ripple mints biggest RLUSD since the launch on XRP Ledger. So Ripple just minted 7,100,000 RLUSD. That shows you there's a lot of adoption happening for RLUSD and more momentum coming as well. And we still have not seen value come from RLUSD yet. I'm still waiting for that to happen. Remember when everybody used to say, once that stablecoin launches, we're going to $10 overnight. And I kept saying, it's going to be steady upward movement over time. We will eventually see this value reflected in the price of XRP. Ripple long advocated for SEC CFTC collaboration with fintech firms, as seen in its support for HR 1602. Now, the CFTC is launching a pilot with Ripple to explore stablecoins and digital assets as collateral, confirming Ripple's early push for regulatory cooperation is materializing. So it looks like Ripple is now working with the CFTC. And I'm waiting to see what happens with the Ripple vs. SEC case. UADA can end the Ripple vs. SEC case. We don't have to wait for Atkins to take the seat at the SEC. I stress that because a lot of people don't think that case is going to end anytime soon. They still think it's going to drag out over the summer of 2025. I don't think so. I think it's going to end when we all least expect it. Traditional markets are merging with crypto derivatives as institutions integrate blockchain technology. We've been extremely early all along. Take a listen to this.
Even today here at this conference, having Coinbase and GSR join ISDA is kind of an example of that convergence to some extent, where, I think, like I mentioned, the kind of native crypto derivatives market was developing in kind of one silo, and the traditional finance market was developing another. I think already we're seeing that there's a need on both sides to identify those consistent standards from a documentation standpoint, from a best practices and credit and operational standpoint. And so we're kind of in the very early days. But this is, I see, as prime example of the convergence that's happening and working together to solve all of those challenges, which will help have a much more robust and, frankly, stronger market.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point of convergence where it's definitely about sort of commercial opportunities, but Josh, it's also about ISDA. It's also about the support infrastructure, right? It's also about things like common domain model, protocols, industry utilities, where both the traditional finance world as well as the crypto native world have shared interest in things like look at reference data from the traditional finance world, right? Places where they've looked to create industry utilities and where there could be a communal data pool, right? These things are really important when we talk about derivatives, not just from pricing, but actually creating the products, baskets, financial indices, things of that nature. So as we hit these points of convergence and as these places like ISDA, you had to look at sort of the full suite of what we can do at ISDA and what we can really achieve.
Think about what they're going to do. They're going to make user-friendly apps, fiat on-ramps, and custodial services. Entering crypto is becoming as simple as trading stocks. That comes from Mr. Man. And we are seeing the convergence of TradFi and DeFi. Everything's starting to happen now because you have people in the stock market that are eager to get into crypto. And in the crypto space, we're just waiting for institutional adoption to happen. But the only reason they're still reluctant is because of regulations. Once those are in place, that's it. It's going to be a massive wave of liquidity flowing into crypto. It was always Ripple and Stellar. Grown men will weep. Take a listen to what Jed McCaleb says about Bitcoin mining.
But yeah, and well with Ripple, yeah, I thought, hey, I think Bitcoin's awesome, but I do think that there's some more efficient way. I think the mining process is sort of this constant drag on the system, where it's kind of like sucking value out, and it's been okay to date just because there's been more money flowing into it. But at some point that will change, and at equilibrium, I think mining will be like a huge problem. So I wanted to figure out a way to again solve this like distributed ledger that everyone agrees on without mining. And so that kind of led to the idea of that like underpin Ripple. But yeah, so I was hoping that people would use that and it would take off.
He even knows there's problems with Bitcoin mining. It's eventually going to become something of the past, and Bitcoin is going to be running over these networks like the XRP Ledger, Stellar Network, Hedera Network, XDC Network. And Bitcoin maxis, they just don't want to see it yet. But once this happens, it's going to happen quickly. And any retail investor that's in Bitcoin is going to end up being a bag holder, waiting for the price and hoping that the price goes back up. But it's eventually going to come crashing down. Poland won't consider Bitcoin under any circumstances, as reserves must be absolutely secure. Under any circumstances. What's so wrong with Bitcoin? Here's what it is. Bitcoin runs on hype and speculation. These countries are not going to fall for the hype and speculation. They're going to go in a different direction. They're going to utilize whatever fixes problems in their countries, whether it be moving money, store of value. They're going to end up, going into a digital currency that they're going to have to move around the world, backed by actual gold. Because every single country is moving towards a gold-backed currency. They're abandoning Bitcoin. Boom, Utah House Bill 230 allows multiple cryptos, not just Bitcoin, as reserve assets. Means Ripple's XRP could join US Reserve. All these states, every single day, I see all these Bitcoin maxis saying, this state is coming up with a Bitcoin-only reserve, and it's all bullshit. These states are coming up with digital asset reserves, meaning that they're going to hold different cryptocurrencies in their reserves. Most likely something that moves money or solves a real-world problem. But the hype has to continue, because the second the hype ends, Bitcoin ends. And that's why you're seeing all the hype at a new all-time high. But the narrative is shifting at the same time. So in the next 2 years in the UAE, you will be able to do more with cryptocurrency than with the dirham and the dollar. Eventually, as we start integrating blockchain and crypto at a government level, and they start utilizing crypto to move money and to use it and to move tokenized assets, a shift is going to happen away from the US dollar as well. That's why I said eventually we are going to have a cashless society. It's going to happen. When is it going to happen? Most likely not for at least another 2 to 3 years. But it will eventually happen. Because the whole world is going digital. The new financial system is going to be digital. AI is going to be at the heart of the new financial system. And everything's going to be fully automated going forward. And fiat is just going to end up dying at the wayside. You know, it's just going to become something that will disappear. But for a period of time, I think you're going to have those parallel systems. You're going to have digital money, you're going to have fiat, and you're going to have crypto rails that are also going to be building out. And at the end, eventually cash will disappear. Fiat will be gone. And you'll be left with digital US government money or whatever government currency is out there. And then you're going to have the crypto rails. And crypto investors are going to be able to take advantage of those rails because they got in early. Even the ECB talks about parallel rails. That's where I got that from. Carsten's talked about it at the BIS. The IMF talked about parallel rails. ECB still talks about parallel rails. I think we will see the same in the United States. What should we do, Elon? Pay taxes or wait for Doge to eliminate the IRS? Right now, a lot of people are up in the air about paying their taxes because they see the IRS coming to an end, and people don't want to pay the taxes only to find out later that they're going to abolish the IRS. And then there's this. USAID reportedly gave $122 million to groups aligned with foreign terrorist organizations. We're not talking Cub Scout troops here. Take a listen to this.
This is the kind of stuff Mr. Musk found. He found that the USAID gave money to support electric vehicles in Vietnam. Our money, taxpayer money. He found that USAID gave money to a transgender clinic in India. I didn't know that. I bet you the American people didn't know that. He found that the USAID gave $1.5 million to a Serbian LGBTQ group called Grupa Izladaji. I probably mispronounced that, my apologies. Anyway, they got $1.5 million to, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. What else did Mr. Musk found that my colleagues don't want to talk about? Well, he reviewed a study and then went and checked it. The study was done by the Middle East Forum. They found that USAID spent $164 million to support radical organizations around the world. We're not talking Cub Scout troops here. We're talking about radical organizations around the world. They gave $122 million of that to groups aligned with foreign terrorist organizations. Our taxpayer money. According to this report in Mr. Musk, the USAID has given millions of dollars to, quote, organizations in Gaza controlled by Hamas. Why aren't my colleagues talking about that? Recipients of the money, they found, have, quote, called for their lands to be cleansed from the impurity of Jews.
I had to play that whole clip because it pisses everyone off in the United States. This is our tax dollars that we're paying to the IRS, and this is where it's getting spent. I honestly think it's time to end the IRS in the United States. You know, the tariffs, that's the starting point. That will eventually lead to us no longer paying taxes in the United States. And I think it's time to end capital gains tax on USA-made cryptocurrencies as well. I mean, it's appalling is what it is. I could say so many other words for that. But this is where our money has been going while we're fighting inflation at the grocery store, at the gas station, and every time you turn around, there's a new tax on something else in the US. Ron Paul should lead a Federal Reserve audit. Elon has backed the idea of letting Ron Paul, a longtime critic of the Federal Reserve, lead an audit on the central bank. Paul has long advocated for auditing and abolishing the Fed, arguing it operates without transparency and inflates the currency at the expense of Americans. Again, we are going to see the end of the Fed. I always said Ripple could possibly replace the Fed in the United States. Ripple looks more and more like a bank all the time. And a gold-backed currency in the US would end the Fed. And I think that's the direction we're already going in. And I've been talking a lot about AI lately because you're starting to see talk more and more about it now because the push is on for AI. Fully on-chain AI agents can be the key to a more open AI future. They're eventually going to leave humans behind. They're not slowing down with AI. If anything, it's expanding and growing. And it's going to have its own economy. And the robot money, like I said in previous videos, is going to be crypto. AI is going to end up taking a lot of jobs in the very near future. Once again, this is why it's so important to stay invested in crypto. Make sure you get rich and retire yourself before robots take your job, because you could already see it coming. AI is advancing so quick, and they're doing it without caution. They're not even taking into account how this is going to change people's lives. But it's going to. You know, they don't take into account that robots might be way too advanced, even where it is today. But yet they keep going, ahead. And they're advancing quicker and quicker. And eventually, we're going to have laws around AI as well. I always said we need a digital bill of rights ahead of a central bank digital currency or any digital currency. Because even though we're not going to have a central bank digital currency coming from the Fed, I still think we're going to have a digital dollar. I already think it's RLUSD and most likely USDC as well. But I think we're also going to need laws to protect humans against AI going forward. But, this is all leading to us getting very rich as crypto investors. And once again, I stress, anyone not invested yet, time is running out. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.